How's it going, guys? Today we're going to review the Canon SL2. I'm here with Nikolai to help me out with this review. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are we going to be doing today?
Today we'll be looking at the Canon SL2. It is a lower priced DSLR and it is great for beginners.
We're actually going to be filming a couple of videos comparing this to some of the other DSLRs, but this video is just going to be focused on this as a beginner video camera. So let's take a look at some of the specs that we got here. So this guy's got a 24.2 megapixel CMOS sensor inside, and it can shoot up to 1080p 60 FPS video, which is the exact same as the 80D, but we're not talking about that in this video.
This camera features a LCD touchscreen and you can angle it however you like to, so it is perfect for vlogging. You can actually turn it to face towards yourself and you can record and see what you are recording.
For photo-wise, this camera shoots up to 5 frames per second continuous shooting. So if you are shooting some kind of action, you can get a pretty decent amount of photos. So with this camera in the menu systems, you can actually set up it to connect to your phone through Wi-Fi. So you can send pictures or even see live video from the camera. And we're gonna do that right now and see how well it works.
From the looks of it, this camera actually connects to your phone with Bluetooth settings.
But there's also Wi-Fi, and this process seems to be very complicated, more than it should be. So while he's still trying to connect to his camera, I'm gonna see if I can connect to my 80D. So mine just came up with the Wi-Fi as itself, and now I can live see what is being shown. And for some reason, it's just not as easy, even though it should be exactly the same. So I'm going to talk about some more features here while we're still working on the wireless there. It has a range of ISO 100 to 25,600, which is a massive range. You can even expand it up to 51,200, but you're going to get a ton of noise, and we're actually going to be testing that in just a few minutes here. If you take a look at some of the other features, it does have a built-in flash, which if you are in the automatic mode, it'll just pop up like that if it senses that it's too dark. On the side of the camera, it's got a microphone input and a remote shooting port.
The one downside to this port is that you cannot plug in headphones to listen to what your audio sounds like.
It does have an HDMI out and a USB. You can use that USB port either to charge the battery, or you can connect it to a computer if you don't want to take out the SD card. So with the 18 to 55 kit lens, it's coming in just under $700. The link will be down below if you want to check that out.
If you have some lenses and you want just the body of this camera, the body is coming in at around $550.
I think that's it for the specs side here. Now we're going to go and do some real world tests, both of just like in normal shooting conditions and also like in low light. Where are you at on the Wi-Fi there? Did that work?
So far, it has not worked. Kind of gotten the Bluetooth to work, but it didn't really connect. I don't know if that's the camera's fault or my phone's fault, but so far it has not connected.
Okay, so this is going to be our first studio test here. We've got a couple of objects on the table, and we've got the SL2 set up on this tripod right here, and we're going to be testing the ISO, and this light is actually changeable, so we're going to be dimming that and then seeing how well it does with like lower light, and we're going to turn these lights off too. So it's just going to be this light, and we'll like work up from full power all the way to complete darkness and see how the camera looks. Alright, so we switched the camera into the manual mode here, and that is M on the dial for this studio test. And right now we're going to be controlling all 3 of these values. So the first value right here is 80. That is our shutter speed. We're going to be keeping that constant. The 4.0 is the aperture, which that is the lowest aperture that the kit lens can do right there. And then our third number is ISO 100, and that is the lowest ISO, and we're going to work our way up as the light right here, as we keep dimming that, we're going to be changing the ISO so we can see the performance of the camera.
So you might be wondering, what does the ISO actually do?
Yeah, so the 2 numbers that we're kind of leaving constant, and those are mechanical, so that's either making the amount of time that the sensor is exposed, that would make it shorter or longer depending on what you do with the shutter speed there. And the aperture is how wide there's this ring inside of the lens and the wider the aperture, which is lower the number, the more light that's coming in. That's basically how that works. There's some other features that make it a little more complicated. And the ISO is kind of like the last resort to get more light in if there's not enough light, which is what we're testing right here. So that was ISO 100. Now we're going to change the light down to 80%. We started at 100%. Now we're going to change the ISO here so that the image is properly exposed, which I think is going to be right around 200. So right now we're at ISO 200, and we really shouldn't see any kind of noise until we get upper, probably towards 800 and 1000. That's when you'll really start noticing it. So now we're going at ISO 400. Still should look pretty crispy. Yeah, at 800, yeah, it's still looking really, really nice, but I have a feeling when we start getting a little bit higher ISO, it's gonna start looking grainy. I think we are starting to notice a little bit of grain definitely in the shadows, but the colors are still looking really nice, which is a good thing to see.
And it still looks really nice even if we're zoomed in all the way on the kit lens.
Alright, now let's go to 3200. And yeah, you can definitely see some grain starting to happen there. Alright, so now we're at 6400 ISO, and this is like extremely dark situations where you don't have hardly any light, and you probably wouldn't really be shooting in this if you were like setting up anything. You definitely wouldn't want to shoot this high, but if you were shooting some kind of event where you don't have the time or the ability to set up any kind of light or getting more light to the subject or whatever you're shooting, this is definitely a good feature to have, even though you're definitely going to see that the image is not as sharp. You get that weird kind of colory fuzz stuff that's going on that's called grain. Alright, so this is the final ISO that you're able to set it at. It is 12,800, and definitely if you look at the dark spots, there's a lot of grain going on. You can definitely tell that it's dark and it's just not looking good. But the subject, the main subject where most of the light is, still looks relatively fine. The colors still look really nice. Is that it for this test here, the real studio test? I think that's all that we need to do here. Should we go outside and do some real world test of this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright, so looking back at all of the test footage that I have shot so far, I have to say I am genuinely surprised at how just crisp this footage looks. But I mean, the amount of detail that you can capture with this SL2 camera is just absolutely phenomenal. It has truly blown me out of the water, and for the price that you're getting, it's just such an amazing deal. I'll definitely leave a link to this guy down in the description below, because I would highly recommend you check this out. I mean, if you have no experience whatsoever with any kind of filmmaking, maybe you've played around like with a phone or somebody else's camera and you don't really know how to get into it, this is hands down the perfect camera for you. Thank you for watching, and once again, a special thank you to Nikolai for helping me film a majority of this review. We already have another video coming on the way, which is comparing this to the 80D. Stay tuned, because you have to watch that video, coming out very soon. Thank you for watching, and as always, don't forget to keep it pro.